Hi everyone, welcome to my channel License to Roam. You can follow me on Twitter/X at Edward Stratman. And if you enjoy the video, I'd really appreciate a like, subscribe, and any comments as I continue to grow the channel. Alright, for this analysis, I'll be focusing on Hansi Flick's Bayern Munich and their brilliant win over PSG in the 2020 Champions League final. With Flick taking over at Barcelona recently, this match offers some fine insight into why he's such a top manager and what he'll bring to the table at Barca, as this was a truly elite Bayern team he formed. Right, what was a captivating Champions League final, Bayern Munich came out on top, defeating PSG 1-0 with a goal from former PSG youth product Kingsley Coman, separating the two teams. Making just the one change to his starting lineup from the semi, Flick boldly dropped Ivan Perisic and handed Coman a starting berth. It must be said, not only due to him scoring the winner, but also as he played so brilliantly, the Bayern coach was entirely vindicated for giving Coman the nod. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel, manager of PSG, only made the one alteration as well, bringing back the recovered Keylor Navas in goal for Rico, meaning Verratti had to be content with a place on the bench. What followed was a tense, pulsating clash between two of Europe's elite teams as Flick overcame his countrymen on the touchline courtesy of Bayern's slick offensive mechanics, relentless energy, and intelligent pressing. Obviously, Bayern's high pressing set the tone brilliantly for their strong showing as they implemented Flick's astutely devised strategy successfully, doing a sterling job of limiting PSG's ability to build out from the back. Their 4-2-2-2 structure worked a treat. To kick things off, wingers Coman and Gnabry would come inside to mark PSG's central defenders while curving their press to keep the opposition fullbacks in their cover shadow. Robert Lewandowski and Muller would then monitor the dropping midfielders Marquinhos and Paredes, who were positioned 10 yards from the edge of the box or so. Goretzka looked to then keep tabs on Herrera, while Thiago on the back line would look after PSG's incredibly, wickedly talented front line of Neymar, Mbappe and Di Maria. Blocking passing lanes expertly and harrying with tremendous intensity and conviction, the Reds forced many turnovers with their proactive approach, allowing them to recover the ball high and attack the unset PSG backline, who were quite spread out, obviously, in their build-up plans. Their setup subsequently ensured PSG had to go long or play lower percentage lofted passes to the fullbacks, how they then set traps to give the ball holder the perception that a receiver was free before then jumping out, and used triggers like a back pass or pass towards the touchline, duly heightened problems for their adversaries. Upon looking at their offensive efforts, and Bayern were equally damaging in this regard. A team that has so many weapons that can hurt their foes in a variety of ways, Bayern didn't disappoint even though they only scored the one. From their base 4-2-3-1 animation, their multifaceted movement in the attacking half continually manipulated and asked questions of Tuchel's team, performing superbly executed rotations throughout the front four, cohesively and coherently dovetailed with one another, plus the on-rushing central mid, Goretzka, as well as the fullbacks, to find openings relentlessly, always on the same page with their interchanges. Opposition markers, reference points were constantly being altered to place doubt in their minds on who to track who in what zone. Taking advantage of these disconnects created within the PSG backline, plenty of examples arose of gaps being exploited by astute runs in behind, not just from attackers but also the fullbacks, and Goretzka arriving from deep, who was so hard to track, with runs into depth proving vital no matter if they originated between defenders, on the blind side, or came about using opposite movement or dummy runs. It was unsurprising their goal arrived following a nifty burst by Coman, which we'll touch on later. The fact Bayern regularly found spaces between PSG's defensive and midfield lines when they lured out presses from midfield, and the attackers pinned the back line, was another feature to breathe life into their attack. Varying their methods of attack cleverly, how Muller especially, or another, would push to the near side and create overloads to bypass the opposition, saw them beat the press pretty cleanly, doing so by finding third-man runners or by engaging in slick combination play. PSG were outfoxed on many occasions out wide and in the half spaces. By pinning and drawing opponents astutely and using the overload to isolate principle, this meant Bayern could find their wingers or Davies via quick switches of play, where they could then use their qualitative superiority to wreak havoc on the dribble and with their speed. Thiago's immaculate distribution unquestionably helped Bayern achieve the above, but his impact in there though, dropping deep to assist build-up or operating in true central midfield locations. The Spanish international's intelligent positioning and mesmerising range of passing enabled him to control and dictate passages with aplomb, whether breaking the lines, hitting raking switches, or incisive through balls. His progressive distribution fittingly proved the catalyst for Bayern's opener. In this case, Thiago's sizzling switch removed 4 opponents from the equation to find Kimmich, who'd rotated with Gnabry. The German international then struck a lovely cross to the back post to oblige Coman's run, but saw him create a 2v1 against Kehrer before heading home clinically, in a move that encapsulated many of the essential elements of their attacking efforts, including how they efficiently get numbers into the area for crosses and cutbacks. Flick would have been delighted about the winner. Although Bayern enjoyed the lion's share of possession and looked far more dangerous, there were still many promising moments produced by PSG. Looking extremely threatening in transition, they'd break with searing pace against Bayern's aggressive high line. Even though Bayern would often keep Kimmich tucked in to help deal with Mbappe and a midfielder back to help the centre-backs, stopping PSG completely always proves troublesome. Blessed with tremendous athleticism and skill, once the Parisians broke up field, Neymar, Mbappe and Di Maria stretched the backline with their neat runs, often finding themselves in ideal 3v2 and 3v3s against the backpedaling Bayern. Generating many chances through this avenue, much disappointment then arose from the many chances they squandered from favourable areas following these transitions. Had these chances been taken, things certainly could have been different, but it wasn't to be, with Neuer's outstanding saves also key towards PSG remaining scoreless. Upside could also be found in Tuchel's pressing scheme, as the French outfit admirably dealt with Bayern. Despite not always being successful due to the nous of Flick's men, they still deserve credit, organising themselves into an asymmetrical 4-3-3/4-4-2 shape. Neymar would be positioned so he had access to either centre-back, and so he could also block the lane to Thiago. To the left of the Brazilian, Mbappe had a mixed role, which consisted of either pressing the nearby fullback, centre midfielder or central defender. Di Maria then smartly angled his pressure to shut off the passing lane towards Davies while stepping out to Alaba. If the ball was chipped over the top to Davies, one of Herrera or Kehrer would step out to the Canadian flyer, using the amount of time the ball had to travel and how air passes are more difficult to control as a trigger to press aggressively. PSG's three mids and Herrera, Paredes and Marquinhos would usually be oriented towards Thiago, Goretzka and Miller, except when pressing into wide areas as mentioned above. As the match wore on and Bayern began to find ways to beat the press, retreating into a more horizontally compact 4-5-1 mid-block shape was Tuchel's desired choice. Entertaining and full of quality, the 2019-2020 Champions League final was definitely one to remember. Although PSG will rue their missed chances, no one could begrudge Bayern being deserved winners, sealing a remarkable treble for the Bavarian Giants in the process. This was a perfect way to sign off an incredible campaign for Bayern and their hugely impressive manager, who masterfully instilled his philosophy since taking over the prior November to propel his team to glory. That's the end of the analysis on this memorable triumph. How do you guys think Flick will fare at Barca, and how highly do you rate him? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and leave a comment. Would really appreciate it. Thank you again for taking the time to watch the video and have a great day. Stay tuned for the next analysis.